Welcome back to You Be the Judge. My guest today is District Attorney Andy Jarbola. And Andy, before the break, we talked about the problems with heroin. That seems to be something that kind of ebbs and flows. I can remember as a young public defender right out of law school running across a friend of mine who went to Marywood College or Marywood High School, was 2 years into college when she became addicted to heroin. And when I saw her as a public defender, her arms were loaded with scars, her teeth had been knocked out, and she had been really somebody that would be unrecognizable, all because of heroin. And you know, that same person, she's since passed away, went on to be, after she was cured, one of the greatest advocates for people trying to solve a drug problem. So there is hope, but this new brand of heroin that's coming up here, what do you see?
There is a drug problem in virtually everywhere, whether it's the high school age kids or on up through adulthood. The last time I looked at the numbers, we are averaging in Lackawanna County over 1 overdose death per week.
Wow.
In our county. And
that's more than drunken driving?
More than drunken driving. More than drunken driving and cocaine overdoses combined. Wow. You're talking about whether it's heroin or some of the prescription medications such as Oxycontin and Oxycodone. It's really is an epidemic, and we're trying to do things to curb that epidemic. One of the things that we're very much involved with statewide is a drug database, not only for doctors but for pharmacists as well, because we know that drug addicts not only will they doctor shop, but they pharmacy shop.
Sure.
And they'll go to pharmacies, whether it's in Southside or Carbondale or even in Luzerne County. If there's a database, the pharmacist in Carbondale could say, "Whoa, geez, wait a second, John Doe. You just had a prescription filled last week for 100 Oxycontins in Scranton. We can't fill this." So that will help us a great deal with identifying the users and the abusers of these narcotics, because we are facing an epidemic.
And the heroin, where is that coming from?
Well, living here in the Northeast, we have a very wonderful highway system that seems to come right through the center of Lackawanna County. Whether it's the Turnpike going to Philadelphia, whether it's Route 80 and 380 going into New York, whether it's Route 84 going into upstate New York, even as Route 81 upstate New York. All those things bring the drugs into our area. And we try to come up with ideas on how to stop that flow. We're even now meeting with people with the railroad, because we know in the very near future we're going to have railroad activity going between here and New York City. So we have to stay, one step ahead of the game there. I remember a couple years ago when we were doing a wiretap investigation, and the person on the phone was saying, "Man, this is easy money. I could take $1,000, go to New York, buy $1,000 worth of heroin, come back to Scranton and make $5,000. Wow. So the markup from the money side of it is pretty good for the drug dealers. The money is the incentive.
And the schools, are we seeing it in our schools, and how big a problem, and how do we solve that problem?
Well, I have what is called a Safe Schools program, where I have assistant DAs assigned to each school district here in the county, and they meet on a regular basis to deal with the local magistrates, local police, and the school officials. And we try to identify kids who are at risk. And if we're able to get them into programs prior to them becoming a problem for the criminal justice system, hopefully we could be successful. And whether we bring in people like we had here a few weeks ago, Chris Herron, who was an NBA star and a star in college, he came in and spoke of his addiction issues. And the feedback has been tremendous. We've already identified several kids who have addiction issues, and now they're getting help because of that. So we do have a problem here. We just want to stay ahead of it.
And the police in the small towns are equipped to handle this, or do you work with them to give them?
We work very closely with local law enforcement. The one thing I'm very proud of to say here in our county is that we have a wonderful coordinated effort, whether it's from the state police, the federal authorities, on down to the local municipal police officers. And we're all on the same page to combat not only the problem, but to find answers for a solution.
Where do you see on a national level that we could be going to try to cut the influx of drugs into the country? I mean, we were the center of the universe for a while with a guy by the name of Leitches up at Deer Lake, coming in from Central America.
I think, by working cooperatively with all law enforcement, we could try to come up with ideas to curb that. But it seems like whenever you take one drug dealer off the street, there's another one to take its place, or his or her place, because of the financial aspect of it. We do have a lot of addiction issues here in our community. We're trying to find ways in which to cut that down, whether it's through the treatment court side of it or education side of it with dealing with our youth. And I think, even from my perspective, back when I was in high school 30-some years ago, we didn't have the programs that we have today. We didn't have people that were concerned about what was going on at the grade school or junior high school or high school level. Now we do. And hopefully that we could see in 2 decades from now, our efforts today are going to be successful 20 years from now.
I can remember Attorney Tom Hanlon a long time ago, former
good friend,
assistant U.S. attorney, saying to me, the Treasury Department is able to save our currency by going counterfeiter up the line, and really believed that the small dealer, you've got to go back and try to find out where he's getting it and where it's going. And I assume that's something that you work on all the time.
Yeah, we always try to go up the ladder, so to speak, to find out not only where the drugs are coming from, but like I said earlier, because of our highway system here, and a lot of our drugs that are coming into this area are coming from the New York, Philadelphia area, and we're trying to do things such as interdiction type of investigations where we go down to the bus stops and we check that out. We have roving patrols, whether it's local municipal police officers or the state police, to try to identify the people that are coming into our area bringing in the drugs. So there's a lot of investigative efforts on that end, but we also have to look at the addiction side as well to try to curb the problem.
When we come back, I want to have some closing thoughts with you and maybe talk a little bit about what might be in your future. Okay. So please stay tuned to You Be the Judge. I'm Todd O'Malley with the law offices of O'Malley and Langen. If I say accident, what do you think? Car crash, falling down the steps, unexpected events. People don't realize most of these accidents aren't really accidents. They're injuries caused by careless third parties. So if you've been hurt at work, call O'Malley and Langen. 1-800-817-COMP. 1-800-817-2667.
If you are disabled and unable to work, you may be entitled to Social Security benefits. In order to obtain benefits, you must prove your disability is severe enough to keep you from working. Social Security is financed through a dedicated payroll tax. If you have been paying taxes, then you have been paying into Social Security. And if you are no longer able to work, you've earned your rights to your Social Security benefits. Call the lawyers at O'Malley and Langen, representing Social Security claimants for a quarter of a century.
Welcome back to You Be the Judge. The future. There's an awful lot of judges that serve as district attorney in this county and others. Have you ever thought of running for judge?
Yeah, for the last 28 years, I've had the very distinct pleasure of serving the citizens of this county, not only as an assistant DA, but for the last 13, 14 years as their DA. I love this job. However, if the opportunity presented itself, I would definitely consider it. As I'm sitting here talking with you, I don't know if I would, so to speak, pull the trigger, but it's something that I've thought about in the past, and I would think about it if a position became available.
I mean, the accomplishments of your boss and my friend Judge Barres are absolutely amazing. He's so well known across the state for the innovative programs that he's worked with. Judge Tom Mundley, who was a criminal defense lawyer for years, as our president judge, has done the same thing. He's had some innovative programs, and it really made our court system something that is like a beacon around the state. And I think someone like yourself, who's had the privilege of serving the people as a prosecutor and has a good common sense when it comes to the treatment that's necessary in the criminal justice system as well as the punishment, could be a real asset to our citizens. So if you do decide, let me know.
Okay, Todd, I really appreciate that.
And now, just in closing, what is something that some of the things that our parents should be thinking about with their kids over the holidays?
Oh, I mean, obviously, I think, I know when my kids were growing up, you got to be a little bit nosy. You have to pay attention to what your kids are doing. I like to say that, you are who your friends are. So as a parent of two young men who are now on their own, my oldest son is an assistant DA down in Dauphin County. I think, my wife and I have done a pretty good job in raising two fine young men. But as parents, I always kept my nose in their business. And I would recommend that be done with any parent out there, to pay attention to what your kids are doing and who they're hanging out with. Because that seems to be the root of some of the problems, like, oh, Johnny was doing it, so I just tagged along. Even
when you were raising your kids, you didn't have the challenge that our present parents do with the internet.
Oh, social media, not only the internet, but whether it's Facebook, Twitter,
Instagram.
Any of the social media,
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah. So there's a lot for parents to worry about, and you make your way into the schools very frequently, don't you?
Yes, we do. We go into the schools for a lot of educational reasons, whether it's involving crimes involving texting or sexting, as was brought about a couple years ago, and the social media bullying is another program of ours. So, we try to get into the schools, because if we get to the kids at an early age, they don't become problems for the criminal justice system in the future.
Andy, thank you so much for sharing
very much,
part of your
Todd. It's
Sunday
always a
morning with
pleasure.
us, and thank you for the great work you've done
You're
on
very
behalf of
welcome.
the citizens. And thank you for sharing your Sunday morning with us on You Be the Judge. Hi, I'm Todd O'Malley with the law offices of O'Malley and Langen. If I say the phrase life-changing experience, what do you think? Getting married, having a baby, buying a home, all good things. I'll bet you didn't think work injury, and that's a problem with our society. Many people just don't understand that being injured on the job and unable to work can change everything. It can destroy your earning power, hurt your family, damage your health. If you've been hurt at work, call O'Malley and Langen. You'll find there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Our lawyers will find that glimmer of hope and fight back. If you're afraid to make waves, scared of losing your job altogether, call O'Malley and Langen 24/7. Nights and weekends, one of our lawyers will answer the phone. So call 1-800-817-COMP. That's 1-800-817-2667. And remember, we don't get paid unless you win.